They come to demolish my home. They not demolish just the wall and ceiling and no, they demolish family. They demolish our future, our life.
Fakhri Abu Diad is expecting his house to be bulldozed any day now. He's lived in it since the early 90s, but now Israeli authorities say this house and 87 other Palestinian homes in his East Jerusalem neighborhood were built illegally. The houses sit on the site of a proposed national archaeological park.
It's my land. I take it from my father. My father took it from my grandfather. It's many generation here.
This house in the Silwan neighborhood represents the latest battleground between Israelis and Palestinians, who each view Jerusalem as their capital city.
Because they have a political agenda, they not want us here.
East Jerusalem was annexed by Israel in the 1967 war, despite being seen by most Israelis as integral to the state. Israeli sovereignty over this part of the city has not been recognized by most of the world. Much of East Jerusalem lies within what's known as the Holy Basin, an area full of religious sites above ground and archaeological finds underground. In such a heated political climate, even archaeology has become a political weapon. One case is the Temple Mount. Palestinians, including President Mahmoud Abbas, have doubted the Jewish version of history and say that this is not where King Solomon's temple once stood.
This shard has a red slip and stripe burnishing. This is very typical to the First Temple period.
Israeli archaeologists are still sifting through debris that was dumped here in the year 2000. That year, the Palestinian custodians of the Temple Mount, known to Muslims as Haram al-Sharif, were working on a construction project. They bulldozed and dumped 6,000 tons of archaeologically valuable debris into the Kidron Valley.
When they look at us, or what we're doing, they think we're looking for gold. They find it difficult to accept and to understand that we are looking for knowledge.
Knowledge, of course, is power. And each side of this bitter conflict tries to educate people to believe its version of history. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the site of the original ancient Jerusalem that thrived before there was such a thing as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, a place known today as the City of David.
In the City of David, our guidebook is the Bible.
This was my introduction to the City of David. Asher Altschul, a tour guide and archaeologist, is one of the world's leading experts on the site. He helps train all the official tour guides here, who are told to bring Hebrew Bibles on every tour.
There are about 500-600 ancient sites in the country. Why are people here? They're not here because of the archaeology. This is important because of the Bible.
It took most of the day to go through the entire site, where 4,000 years of history is buried. What makes the site unique is the discovery of pieces of evidence matching up with accounts written by the biblical prophets.
This tunnel is about 4,000 years old.
Ancient Hebrew inscriptions, walls, and tunnels have been found and dated back to the 7th and 8th centuries BC, the time of the Hebrew kings. At the Visitor Center, a movie shows an aerial view of the City of David, as some believe it was 3,000 years ago. This is supposed to be the archaeological prize known as King David's Palace. There is no consensus among experts that it has ever been found.
This kind of debate, if it was King David's Palace or not, is welcome and important. What we are dealing here is what is the narrative or what is the story that the people are hearing and how it's influenced, again, the public awareness.
Yonatan Mizrahi is an archaeologist offering an alternative tour of the City of David. He claims that the group responsible for providing the official tour of the site, known as Elad, is not telling the whole story.
I think it's very sophisticated because nobody's saying for positive this is King David Palace, but they make you the feeling that you are visiting King David city. And it's very important to us to focus in the archaeological evidence and not to use all kind of historical books and also the Bible as a tool in the guiding.
Elad, a Hebrew acronym for City of David Foundation, sponsors excavations here and runs the official tour. With millions of dollars coming in from wealthy American donors, Elad has turned this area into an attractive tourist destination. At the same time, they've purchased homes from Arabs living in the area, settling hundreds of Jews among the nearly 50,000 Palestinian residents. Elad was founded by this man, David Be'eri, who also created one of the most elite undercover units in the Israeli army. He declined interview requests, but allowed me to speak with Jaron Spielman, an Elad spokesman originally from Detroit.
The Muslims have Mecca. Jerusalem is the Jewish Mecca. And Elad was formed to purchase as much of this land as possible with the idea of both rejuvenating it with life and also excavating beneath the surface.
Like many Silwan residents, Jawad Siam does not recognize the city of David and refers to it as a neighborhood of Silwan called Wadi Hilwa.
They try to change everything in this neighborhood. They call it City of David.
The name City of David comes from the first Christian archaeologists who visited the site in the late 19th century, well before the State of Israel was even created.
They ignore the fact that there are 55,000 Palestinians here. And people are starting to reject and to say, we won't keep our name. This is our name. And you will see it here on the wall.
Jawad claims his grandmother's house was taken by settlers in a fraudulent transaction.
On the other side, where you see there, on the above side, it's my grandmother's land.
We've been to court numerous times by the Palestinian Authority, and there is not a single instance where fraud has been found against the city of David. If an Arab wants to sell his home to a Jew or to our organization, we'll be happy to buy the home. And if the Arab doesn't want to sell his home, he'll live here peacefully.
The house in question is now inhabited by several Jewish families who live in a heavily guarded compound. They have steel cages on their cars to protect their windshields. Inside, there is a kindergarten, homes, and a synagogue.
This is Silwan.
But this is also Silwan.
This is City of David.
The Arabs, this is like,
I don't know. I live under Israeli law.
Right.
Under Israeli law, this is called the City of David.
The area where Abu Diyad lives is known as Al-Bustan, Arabic for the garden.
Yeah, this is my garden.
Even though it is of no archaeological significance, Elad plans to turn the area into an extension of the tourist site, which will be called the King's Garden.
The world, when they hear about the King's Garden, the area that King Solomon was in when he wrote the Song of Songs, an area that played a central role in the biblical period, has enormous international ramifications for understanding the Bible.
Why me? Why my neighborhood? Because I am Arabic, because I have no power, but because they have the power, they have the police, they have the government.
King David is not just revered by Jews and Christians, but is also considered a prophet in Islam.
If the King David was alive, I sure he's not accept to demolish our homes, our families.
For Time.com, this is Jaron Gilinsky in East Jerusalem.